Okay.
We are now. Wait for it. Okay, good. Good afternoon and welcome to a Friday live stream here at Gray's.
How do you do?
How do you do? Becky here.
Konstantin.
You know that though, because I think it's all our regulars. Good afternoon to all our regulars. Lovely to see you in the comments. Today we are going to be talking about photo books and printing your work and whatever, anything else that gets thrown in the mix. We do, just as a reminder, we do have the coffee fund open. If you do contribute to the coffee fund using the super chat thingy, we will answer your question, whatever question you post there. I will always check those as a matter of just policy.
Absolutely. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, if you are not watching live and you're watching after the fact and you do very kindly one of those little PayPal me link coffee fund contributions, then you can also put your question in the notes and then we'll obviously read it the following week. So don't hold back is all I can say. Excellent. Someone said, yes, you're live.
Oh, yeah. And if you have a question for us, just because in the chat sometimes it's quite difficult to see, just type in QQQ and then the question. So,
oh, yeah, that helps.
If you have time to answer it, then we will definitely.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes things much easier because the chat gets very, very busy.
Yeah, it has its own life, isn't it?
It's like this little monster.
The friendships have been created. All sorts of things.
That's right. We've got a few visitors next week.
That's right.
We do.
From European Union.
Yes. And from Manchester.
And from Manchester.
Thank you very much to Vince for your contribution to the coffee fund. It was lovely to see you in person in the shop. You know, we are actually in the shop, so sometimes people come in and we manage to see you in person. Yes. Always lovely.
Yeah, we're not hiding. If we're here, we will see you.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you to Adrian, for your contribution to the coffee fund. And thank you very much to Fred.
Oh, thanks, Fred.
As well. Now... That's funny. Nige said, now there's a challenge. Any question answered the price of a coffee. I mean, within reason. What we can answer.
We just thought, okay, well, sometimes we've been asked the questions that are not related to the topics, and we generally don't answer them because obviously it's not adding anything to the topic. But if it's a coffee fund thing, then we will answer it.
Yeah.
So that's all it is.
Exactly. So even if it's like, what's the best combination of lens and camera for this type of, we'll answer it. That's fine. Might do it at the end, but we'll answer it.
If you would like to talk, if you would like us to talk for an hour about Z9 again, then just keep having those donations, you know, the coffee funds.
I don't want to talk about
and just ask Z9 questions.
Thank you also to Jeremy and to Ian for your contributions.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Right, so first order of business before we dive into the books, we've got, as you can see, some colour film here.
Oh, yeah, some new film. I mean, colour film is really difficult to get nowadays. So we managed to get some Lomo. We've got Kodaks and Fujis on order, but that thing takes time. So we got some Lomo for you to try. We got two funky ones. One Metropolis. So that one would give you kind of, what kind of colors are those? The kind of muted.
I would say that's like desaturated tones, but with a particular emphasis on the reds. So everything will be quite sort of muted, and then your reds will be a bit brighter.
And blues are blues, basically. Yeah. So if you like the grungy Nirvana style look, if you want to smell like a Teen Spirit, or something like that. So you get one of those. And then another funky one is a red scale one. So if you're into reds and oranges, that's the one definitely to go for.
Yeah.
And then we have two normal ones. So we got 100 normal film, C41, and 400 film. So those two are basically, well, Lomochrome is kind of known that they repackage Kodak film. So no one knows what Kodak film is this. But expect some good colors, I guess.
Some good colors. I'm going to test these out and give you my thoughts when I've had a chance to shoot something. So just as a little by the by, new acquisition for me, I picked up a 35 to 72.8 for my f6.
Is that the macro zoom?
Yeah.
The push-pull one. Okay.
Because I was actually missing an autofocus lens for my f6, and I thought, oh, well, that one will work on my FM3A as well. So I'm going to test some of these out, hopefully over the bank holiday weekend.
Yes. What were your thoughts on lomography? Because for me, I always knew lomography as a kind of a toy thing, you know. So
well, kind of like an experimental film.
Yes, yes. And then they released those normal stocks, 100 and 400 stocks. So generally, if you just want to take pictures with a just, you know, I would say normal color images, you know, then go for those. And if you want to have an Instagram filter with your analog camera built in, basically, then get the other two.
Try those out. Roy said color film doesn't fit in my card slot. That's fair enough. Michael said, sorry, but Ronnie is playing his semi-final at 2:30, so priorities. That's fine. You can carry contribution to the coffee fund. And thank you to Jean, who said, good morning, Becky and Cos. New nickname for you.
Okay.
Andy, your question, is there any way to subscribe to the magazine without the warranty applied? Yes, there is a non-warranty subscription. You're going to have to give us a call for that one because I can't remember what it is. I think it's available on the website.
I think you can say you have to give us your money to do that.
Yeah, you do. You can subscribe to the magazine for like an electronic magazine.
So it's an e-version, basically.
Exactly, without the warranty. It's a bit cheaper, but the lovely ladies, the Nikon owner, will be able to help you.
Colin says his Uli Koch book arrived.
Yay!
Nice.
And Baxter said, I love the lomography films, particularly in 120. So
Here we go. Here we go.
Right. So the other thing that I wanted to just clarify before we start talking about the actual topic that we're here for today is our competition. We do have a competition running. It runs until actually tomorrow. Although I'm not going to be able to draw names until next week now. So if you are a subscriber to our new YouTube channel and a subscriber to our newsletter, those two things combined, super.
Gives you a perk or a chance.
That gives you a chance to win one of our Grays Westminster beanies, which you left yours downstairs, so we can't demonstrate. A lovely limited edition Nikon poster, which has all the Nikon models on it. A 100th anniversary leather strap, and a Nikon Moleskine notebook.
That's nice. And in my defense, I have a mic turned on this time.
Yes, exactly. So if you would like to be in with a chance to win that prize, then you've just got to be subscribed to both our YouTube channel and our newsletter list. And obviously, we will be selecting from our YouTube subscribers and then verifying that you're on our newsletter list. So you'll have to be able to provide us with your email address if we select your name out of the big hat.
All right, here's the question that covers our topic today. Brian asked, Costa Rican or Colombian?
Ooh.
It's a 50-50 split. Both are very nice fruity coffees, in my opinion. So I genuinely, if you go for single origin, both are really nice.
I prefer Colombian. That's just me. I always just find, because I'm a with milk coffee drinker, so with oat milk very specifically, and I just prefer Colombian with it.
That's true. I just feel like it's a waste of a coffee to have a coffee with milk.
It's not much milk. It's like that much. Tiny amount. Anyway, so there you go, Brian. There's the answer to your question, and thank you very much for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. So do you have space on your side to put the film so I can... Somehow.
So those are yours. You're going to test those.
I am. I'm going to test those so at least one this weekend. So first up, I wanted to talk about photography books. Now, most of you will know that I am a big book fan, a bookish fan.
Yes.
So I love books and I love photography. So photography books are kind of like just two of the best things combined into one.
Yeah, so when you add coffee into the mix, it just becomes the best thing ever, isn't it?
Sit there with a photography book and a cup of good coffee, and you've just made my weekend. So there's something quite unique about photography books, I think.
Yes.
Part of this sort of topic and the concept of this topic came about because I was actually chatting to someone yesterday about printing your work and how impractical it is sometimes to have all of your photographs printed, because we all take quite a lot of photographs, right? However, actually doing a photography book as a way to sort of showcase your work without necessarily having to plaster it all over your walls, depending on how your family feel about that, is quite a nice way to do it, I think.
That's true.
And you can pick a theme. So
yes.
I wanted to go through some of our favorites first. I would no photography book discussion would be complete without the wonderful David Yarrow's Wild Encounters. He's got more than one book, doesn't he?
Yes.
This is the one before the most recent one.
Yes.
But just, you're going to have to help me.
Yeah, it needs to be a hand model.
Yes.
Okay.
So can you see? Yes, you can kind of see there. You have to tilt it more towards you.
Yeah. I think last time I opened the book, we saw someone's bottom in there. So that's why I kind of let you do those things.
You just wanted to be a bit cautious.
Yeah.
But so I can't show you the whole book because this one's actually a little bit too big to showcase. But even if you're not a writer, okay, David actually is also an excellent writer. But if you're not a writer, you can sort of fill your books with just beautiful images. I have to check that I'm opening the right pages as well. This is one of my favorite shots of all time of his. Have you seen that one before? That one?
Yeah, I have this book signed.
Oh, yes, of course
by
you
David
do.
himself.
That's right. Yeah. So I just wanted to showcase some of the highlights. This is obviously a chunky. If you were going to get something like this of your own stuff printed, it would probably be quite expensive. I don't know how much this book is actually, about $100, something like that. But it's a beautiful example. It's a bit too big, so I'm going to put it down.
Yes,
and
it's heavy.
It's heavy. It's very heavy.
I mean, one of the things about printing your own stuff as well is in age of digital. And again, maybe they're going to spill into film, but it's a digital conversation, but I don't think it's the case. But in age of digital, we came to the point where a lot of photography becomes throwaway. I mean, how often did you find yourself that you went on holiday, you took bajillion of photographs, and you never looked at them again?
Yeah.
So, having a book printed out to have some sort of project, it could be just, it doesn't need to be like project like flowers or something. It could be just the name of the project is your holiday. So like I went to Portugal, let's say maybe I'll make a book about Portugal. You know? So then you have that, kind of imagery printed into some sort of piece of product that you can come back to later on, because I do find myself that I don't really check the images I taken 10 years ago on digital camera or anything like that.
No, in fact, the last time I actually looked at pictures that I'd taken from a trip that we did, me and the kids did when they were little, was because my Google backup had said, "Oh, you've run out of storage." So then I had to. So I thought, I'm just going to cull some images from there. And I went back and I was like, oh, I forgot about these images. And actually, that's quite a nice feature, I'd say, of more modern devices, is that they remind you of things that you took.
Well, speaking of that, on iPhone, they tend to kind of sometimes it's something pops up. It's like 5 years ago, you've taken this picture. And it's like, oh my God, I was so slim back then.
So I looked so young. Yeah. Some of it is obviously a bit annoying, but generally I actually quite like these reminders and these sort of glimpses into what happened, memories and things like that. That's true. So myself and three of my friends from school we'd gone on a trip together when we were in our teens, and then we decided to do the same thing again about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was actually a horrendous trip. It wasn't a pleasant experience at all, but I was the designated photographer for the trip, of course. And when I came back from it, I thought, well, although some of the worst things happened that could happen on a holiday, and it was just a long weekend, on a kind of girls' weekend out.
Well, after we finish the live stream, you're going to tell me all about it.
It was pretty terrible. But
someone give us a coffee fund with a question: what happened on that holiday, please?
I don't even know if I want to go there. But I took the good photos of that experience, and I made them into photo books and sent them to each of my friends. And we all live in different parts of the world now, so us coming together for a trip is quite a rare experience.
I know you live in London. They live in Devon. It's different parts of the world.
One lives in Switzerland. The other one was in the US at the time. So it was quite fun to have this photo book. And I thought, it's a nice thing to do, actually. A nice thing to give. I know I have to say thank you to Terry and to Randall, who said he enjoys cream and sugar with a little Colombian.
I mean, there's big discussion about coffees. Jamaican Blue is being offered. I'm a big fan of Ethiopian as well as a single origin. It's just, it's really, really nice. But I mean, what's called artisan coffee, specialty coffee is booming. Yeah,
absolutely. Nigel asked an odd question, but I quite like this. Said, are the market stalls between you and Mr. Cad there every day? Definitely every weekday. Nigel, on the weekend, I'm not so sure. They're sometimes on a Saturday.
I mean, the food market.
Yeah, the Pimlico market.
I'm not sure. It's Monday to Friday, that's for sure. But
Saturday they add different things, but then Sunday they're usually not there. So hopefully that answers your question. So I'm just going to give you another example of a photo book, and this is taking one topic. So this is Georgiana Lane.
Yeah.
She actually writes a lot of her own stuff now, but she also works with writers, and then she provides the photography. A lot of you will have seen her series. She did London in Bloom, New York in Bloom, and her most recent one is Paris in Bloom. I've actually got them downstairs, but I thought I'd take one thing. So some of us like to just take lots of pictures of one topic.
Like flowers.
And this, Georgiana is the perfect kind of example of somebody who has taken a theme, and something that she's really genuinely very artistic at and turned it into basically her whole career. there's hope for me yet.
Yes,
could
yes.
take
I think you've got about 2 or 3 million shots of flowers.
At least.
Yeah.
And a few pictures of books as well. Maybe I could do a book of all my book pictures.
Yeah.
It's called Bookstagram.
I want to read David's question on the coffee fund. He is asking what happened on that holidays, Becky.
Okay, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you at the end of the stream. Just remind me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, we need to remind her because she thinks that we're going to forget. Never.
Yeah. So, for example, I'm just going to give you an idea. This is actually a signed one, but this is actually different varieties of rose, right? And it's lots of different varieties. There's some double page spreads in there. Again, you don't have to be a writer necessarily to create a beautiful photo book. And as I say, she paired up with actually somebody who is very knowledgeable in the different varieties of. I'm hoping you can kind of see that. Okay.
Yeah. If you would tell me, I would just say this is a rose.
Yeah.
This is a rose.
Yeah.
And this is another rose.
But there's so many different genus species.
Exactly. And don't throw the Latin at me,
Yeah.
you know, so
Exactly.
so it's actually quite good.
It's beautiful, and it's a whole, and it's something so nice about having something like that on your coffee table or on your bookshelf. So if you're the kind of photographer that finds yourself taking. My grandfather used to take pictures of churches, and his goal in life was to take every church in Buckinghamshire, I think it was, and he travelled very, very far to do it. And I thought, you have to just do something with those pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they sort of just sit there in your archives. It's great for personal satisfaction to just have taken the photos, but to then print them and put them in a book and have something that you can share.
Yeah, I don't think it's even just a piece of as a photography as a medium, but it's also a huge piece of research, really, more than anything else, isn't it? Because documenting all the churches around him, it's big research as well in a way.
Yes. And that work needs to pay off. I think I've got that book. I do. It's coming.
I've got one myself as well.
Yeah. So another one that I thought I would highlight. There's something wrong with our capture card today, isn't there?
It's either capture card or a cable.
That's so
or one
annoying.
of the things. I think it's HDMI cable is a bit of a
we're
bit of an
back
issue, but we
on
keep
something. We're back.
blacking out. Yeah.
That's really annoying. Maybe I need to upgrade new cables. Apologies if we're cutting out. It's hardware, not internet issues. So another great example of someone who has taken a genre of photography and had turned it into a career. And Sir Simon Marsden was a film photographer, so he shot everything on 35mm film. In fact, when he sadly passed away a few years ago, his lovely wife brought all his cameras to us, and Gray and I went through them. And there was an FM2N that still had film in it that had been 2/3 exposed. So we actually got the shots developed by Aperture. And the shots on there were shots that nobody had ever seen because obviously he'd taken them before he passed away. So those didn't end up in a book, but they may end up in one of his calendars one of these days. His wife, Cassie, still runs the Simon Marsden archive and produces a calendar every year with his work. And he's produced many, many books. Again, a writer, but I mean, I just want to show the film shots from here because you cannot appreciate the level of grain and.
Is it like ISO 10,000?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Look at it. Can you see it?
I'm waiting for this. Here we go.
You can't see it on the screen. You can see it in person better.
Oh yeah.
And obviously he has bits of writing in there as well.
I think it's like Delta 3200 pushed to like 5 stops or something.
It looks like, doesn't it? But the whole point is that he's taken this very distinctive style and turned it into something that is immediately recognizable. You straight away know that it's his photo. Whenever I see like one of his infrared photos or something like that, I know that it's Sir Simon Marsden's. In fact, we've got some prints downstairs, don't we, of his
We
stuff.
do.
And it's all very creepy, and that was kind of the whole point. In fact, you can't really see this picture on the back. But
What happened to you in Barcelona? Was it similar to what's in this book?
it wasn't a horror.
No.
It was just one of those experiences where don't keep bringing up Barcelona. Oh dear.
Well, we have to answer David's question
because
we've committed to that. So, well, no, actually, we're going to answer obviously all photographic questions from Coffee Fans, but that particular one.
that particular one is coming.
I think it's due. Yeah, absolutely.
I think a couple of people are having a look at David. So David, hello David, said my calendars cover 1 year at a time. So he prints his own calendars, and I guess there's probably quite a few people who do that. I used to do that for family members. I'd print calendars of my photos because it was a nice gift at the beginning of the year, or at Christmas time for the next year. I haven't done that in recent times.
My granddad always had like calendar, and it normally would be some sort of tigers and lions, and it would be on the wall right next to the carpet, which has also been hanged on the wall. So I think it fit really well, his apartment.
Yeah. David said, do you remember the Day in the Life series? No, haven't heard of those. And Joe asks, have you ever seen Family of Man? No, I haven't seen that one either. I'm not familiar with that, but that's not to say, please, by all means, put your book recommendations in there. Avner, the reason you might not be able to put an order in online is possibly we do ship to Israel. Try giving us a call. We can definitely take your order over the phone. The online shop should allow you to place an order because I have customers who place orders from Israel all the time. So I'm not entirely sure what the problem is, but you can always give us a call. It's a quick way around it.
Yeah, sometimes maybe it's your bank that you have your credit card with. Maybe they think, oh, you're buying abroad. Let's just block this transaction for security reasons. It could be that as well, but you never know.
Yeah, but we do definitely ship to Israel.
Yeah.
So then next up, I wanted to highlight the lovely Michael Putland. This book is very difficult to get a hold of these days.
I've got one, also signed.
Do you? Did you get a signed one when he came in?
Yeah, when he came in, yeah.
So
the pre-production piece, yeah, so that was...
that's right. So I took shots of him doing the signing, actually. So the late, great Michael Putland, who some of you will know the story, his studio used to be downstairs before there was a Grays of Westminster here. But this is a phenomenal book just because, I mean, it's got all the greats in there, all the music that he photographed, all of the very, very many talents. It was talent inside and out here. So, and if you've ever been to one of his exhibitions, you'll appreciate that. Sorry, this is also a very big, heavy one. This is, some of these are some of my favorite shots of these people, honestly. This is one of the most famous ones, I think, of his. But anyway, so again, if you're kind of getting to a point where you think, I've got a nice selection of all the concerts I ever shot, Sam, that's for you. Or actually, we've got a few concert photographers or something like that, then you might want to put together a book of that. I know I've been to concerts in the past and I've got some great shots, but I wouldn't necessarily make them into a standalone photo book. But now that I've done a few, I might turn those into a photo book sort of thing. So I thought that was...
Gosh, I don't remember the last time I went to the concert. I think it was like pre-COVID or something.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Long time ago.
I need to get out more.
Yes. And then I thought, in honor of the Queen's Jubilee that we've got coming up in the next few weeks, some of you will know Julian Calder. If you're a Nikon Owner subscriber for a long time, you will have seen that we've done a few articles on Julian's work. So he has photographed the Queen and many of her staff. So for example, something like these great people, look at that. Look at them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is it a cosplay?
It's not a cosplay. This is how they dress for work.
It's a Comic-Con from 2005.
If you want something really different and unique, then look at some of Julian's books, because he's got several books, actually. He's got a new one out. There is one called Keepers. This is called, is this Queens in Their Name? Yeah, Queens in Their Name. And then... I think actually this is the most recent one, I think. But it's everyone. Yes, it is. This is the most recent one.
So that's a Queen's Jubilee. Are they going to go down the Thames River this time around?
I don't know, but I assume so.
Yeah.
Because quite a big deal, 70 years.
Yeah, on Thursday and Friday, 2nd and 3rd of June, is going to be public bank holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah. In UK.
Great advice from David, who's Synthetic Color, says, for non-writers, start with what you already know, the tech, then talk about the process, challenges behind the photo, and the rest will follow.
Yeah.
This is very good advice, because not everybody is adept at writing or wants to put a dissertation about how they took a particular shot.
I can talk. I can't shut up talking. But I can't write like at all.
Well, I have the opposite problem. I think
I can see that. Yes.
I like writing.
So I always have to save the live stream by talking too much.
Yes, just fill in the gaps there.
Exactly, the introvert Becky.
But I do like to write about the process. So this is why writing for Nikon Owner is quite handy for me, because sometimes if we've done a shoot, and we've done a video on a shoot, but sometimes I feel like the video doesn't necessarily give us all of the elements of the shoot. You don't kind of let people know what you were up to. And
I think a lot of those things come later. Once the video is out, then you start to think, oh, we haven't mentioned something. And then it's worth sharing later on, isn't it?
Yeah. So in the next issue of Nikon Owner, I've got a short article on using the ZFC because I used it for about 6 months. And the video covered one thing, and the article kind of covers other elements and things that came to me later, as you say, after the fact. And then, for example, when we did the Big Cat Sanctuary, last year, end of last year, I wrote an article on that, which will be out in the one after the next one. And it was like I was kind of looking at everything in hindsight and going, oh, yes, it's a technical article, but then this is also the experience of the day.
Yeah.
And, the fun of it all.
Yeah, because one of the things when you're preparing for the shoot, so a lot of things you don't talk about is actually preparation, what goes into preparation of certain things. You don't just show up and start taking pictures.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it goes into that. Like doing this live stream, we have about 2 sentences in preparation written for that, so you do have to prepare, but...
I've got a whole Word document today. I'm not actually reading from it yet.
PowerPoint presentation with pictures.
Oh, when we were doing proper lockdown and I was doing live streams from home, I did actually have to read sometimes from my script, even though it wasn't...
When you've been away in Florida, that's what, I had at least 4 or 5 A4 pages just with a handwriting with scribbles on it just to go through that.
Now, C1, hello C1, lovely to see you on the chat today. Said the books by Heather Angel, those are fantastic. I didn't actually have any in my office.
And I also have one signed.
Yes, you're quite a collector of signed photography books.
I like to get my books signed for the people I actually met and talk to, not like someone signing a book in a shop or something like, let's say it's like a new book came out in North Israel. No, I actually would like to get the book that with the person I actually talked to, and that's why, Joe McNally,
Yes.
I studied flash photography when I was in a college, and this book on flash he had, I think Reading Light or something like this.
Yeah.
And that's the book I had signed last year when he came over.
That's right, the beaten up copy.
Exactly, it had my text highlighted and some notes, and now it's signed by him, which is really nice.
So are you gonna buy my book when it comes out in October, and then I'll sign it?
I already have your book signed.
No, but the new one.
The new one, yes.
Good.
Do you want me to proofread it?
No.
I'm gonna be awful at that.
It's fine. I have professionals for that. Don't worry. So here we go. So that's that one, Queens in Their Name. That's the Julian Calder book. Well worth having a look at. Okay, so now I have the ultimate, which you can't even really, well, you probably can see.
Yeah, I think this is a staple of a book, really.
Yeah. Every photographer should have one.
Yeah. Even if, I don't do wildlife, but I have this book.
Well, it's not just wildlife, really, is it? It's
also signed. No, I don't have this one.
No,
signed.
But that would be amazing.
I actually went to one of his talks. I think it was in Science Museum or V&A? Or Natural History Museum.
Might have been Natural History.
Yeah. So I went once there.
This is an absolutely stunning book. It actually has pull-out pages, which I can't really easily demonstrate here. But I'm sorry, I'm gonna get banned, aren't I? For showing
I don't want to make any jokes about pulled-out pages.
But anyway, so it is an absolutely stunning book, and I think in terms of text, is there much text in there? I didn't see any when I was flicking through it.
Well, I'm sure there's foreword.
There's a foreword,
introduction,
and I think that's it. I have to be very careful about what.
He's got the new book out. When we went to Photo London last year, which actually there's a new Photo London in, I think on 12th to 15th of May.
Yes.
But the last time we went, he had a new book out as well, which I haven't got yet.
That one, look at that, it's amazing.
Yeah, you have to really enjoy those large, and I know we have big screens nowadays, but again, a printed printed page or just print itself, it's just a lot nicer to enjoy. It's very similar for me to, let's say, when you listen to the music, on vinyl or something, and not MP3, because you can actually look at the artwork.
Yes.
And read about it. So it's very similar to that. You can actually touch the print.
Exactly. It's a tactile thing. Oh, look, there is actually a bit of text in there. Took me a while to find it. But anyway, beautiful images, all black and white as well, which is quite niche. I don't know if you can get hold of this book very easily now. There's
That's a good question, actually.
But it's stunning anyway, and it weighs an absolute ton. So a couple of things that I wanted to highlight, but I'm also just going to double check the comments because I haven't been looking at them. So Nigel recommends for landscapes Colin Pryor and Joe Cornish. Very, very good suggestion there. Now, Fred says, when I post to Instagram, I try and add a story about... the chat updated about, there we go, the images and why I took them, plus some reasons for my settings. I would love to aspire to do that. I just generally don't have time when I post, but I think it's nice to include a story there. So then Terry said, I had on loan The Amazing Heroes and Villains by David Steen from his niece not long after he passed away. Came packaged as a giant slide box. Wow. That's
cool.
So a few sort of comments on the benefits of printing. So first of all, as you said, stagnating kind of and keeping your images stuck in the archive.
Yeah.
Whereas if you actually print them, whether you physically print them or print them into photo books, it kind of gives you an extra dynamic, I would say, to your photography. It puts it's the end of the product, right? It's like you've set up the photo, you took the photo, you either edited or developed it, and then there's a final step. There's a print or to put that picture in your hand.
That's right. I mean, we talk about, in this case, we talk maybe about photography as a kind of maybe a hobby, or just, when you're doing it for yourself. Obviously, if you're a commercial photographer, you probably have a very different workflow. But again, depending on what you shoot at, if you're shooting, let's say, interiors for Airbnb, you're not going to print those shots out. You're probably not going to share your shots on, on Instagrams with the world, etc., etc. But if you're enthusiast, and you're taking pictures, or you work at, maybe you're art photographer, you work on a particular project, then the print effectively is the final result of your work. And, and generally people like this, they would either discuss those prints with other people, and that's where we have photography clubs around, and, what we call crits, where you discuss, basically you critique the photographs that have been printed out. So you can do this, but obviously, for pros, it's slightly different process. But it's the same could be applied to, let's say, why would you shoot digital and film? If you're pro, you probably shoot digital nowadays. If you're a sports photographer, you're going to shoot digital nowadays.
Yes.
It's like there's no really argument about this. When you by yourself and you enjoy your art and craft, then you can choose the tools that you want to shoot with.
Exactly. Yeah. And same goes for printing, because some people will potentially want to print their stuff professionally. They might want to print it at home. I have a friend from school who's a street photographer, and he prints everything himself. I was trying to find out from him what printer he used, but didn't answer my messages, which was a shame. But anyway, I bought stuff off his store because he makes some great London street prints, and he's traveled all around the world and done different things, and he makes his living from that. So photo books, in terms of photo books.
Yes.
So I've designed photo books for other people, and you used Blurb, which is tied into Lightroom, right?
Yes, that's what I generally do, because it's tied to the Lightroom, it's a lot easier. You don't need to export your images to another program, and then normally when you're starting to lay out your book. Yeah. And there's always something that needs cropping, or maybe you find that maybe you want to slightly shift the color so it fits the overall kind of the mood of the book, etc. Then you have to go to Lightroom, export that image again, edit it, export it, then put it into the software again. And it requires a lot of work. So having it within the book module in Lightroom, it's easy because you can just select the image on the layout of the book, just double tap it, go to developer module, adjust it, go back to the book, and it's already the image is already in the book. So that's what I found kind of a lot easier, just a lot more streamlined to do it in the book module in Lightroom. Yeah.
I've also used for back when I was doing sort of photo books of the kids as they were growing up. I would use Apple Books, because you could easily, it kind of collates all your images from your phone and whatever you've thrown into Photos or iPhotos, it was called at the time, and then turn it into an Apple Book. It's not for professional quality stuff, I don't find personally, but if you're trying to do something fun where it's like, child's first year or grandchildren years 1 to 5 or family holidays or something like that, where you want something, as I say, more fun than anything else, then that's a good option. There are other places as well.
There's Bob Books. There's lots of places nowadays.
Yeah. If any of you have used or recommend a particular photo book printer or company or piece of software or anything like that, feel free to drop it in the chat. I would be very interested to know what you've used.
A lot of people into zines nowadays. It's basically a magazine that you can design and print as well, and it's on the magazine paper, etc. So
yeah,
a lot of people do that, and then you can sell them to the public as well.
I bought a few zines from film photographers.
Here we go.
Who've gone like, oh, I'm doing a project on blah, and then you go, oh, I'd quite like that in physical form rather than just looking at the pictures online. So that's the way to do it. We should do our own zines.
Yeah, we should dump into that, isn't it? Yeah.
So Patrick said Apple has motif now for photo books. I didn't know that. Roy said 4x6 photo books are good for irritating people you don't like. Well, okay, fair enough. Don't know why that would be, but
I remember you would buy those albums. You would print the photos 4x6 and you just slide them in there. You know, remember those?
Yeah.
And you normally for your birthday, if people don't know what to buy you, they would buy you a photo album or a frame.
It's true. It is the ultimate. Don't know what to get you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, better than deodorant, I guess.
Yeah, better than like Lynx.
Unless it's a suggestion, but that's a different story.
Yeah, unless you're trying to sort of slip a little secret message.
Is that a message?
So now, in terms of printing, just general photo printing.
Yes.
Some people print their stuff at home.
Yeah.
Some people dedicated.
Oh, you mean in the bathroom, in the dark room? Is that what you're talking about?
Not talking about that, because also you wouldn't print your images in the dark room, right?
You would.
I mean, no, you wouldn't print them in the bathroom. Would you print them in the
My
bathroom?
father, that's how we print our images.
You print it in the bathroom.
Yeah, he would set up the whole thing.
He'd set
in
it
the
larger
bathroom.
in the bathroom.
Yeah, he would set up like on a washing machine. That would be larger. All the tanks would be in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And I was like 5 at the time, so he would be printing there, and he would show me, and I would sit next to him. I was like, "Oh, what's this? Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how we did it back in the day.
That's amazing.
I mean, you can still do this now.
If you want to.
You can you offer a pop-up tent thing where you can
stick it in the bathroom.
Do
how
that.
big is your bathroom?
Yeah, well, you can leave it in your garden. If you got one, it's about 200 quid, for a tent and all that. So
or on your balcony.
Anyway, but let's go back to actually printing at home by means of printer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
that's what people normally do, yeah?
That's what people normally do.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I don't know if there's anyone that's on this chat who still hand prints their film photos, or if they get them scanned and print them using a digital
in
scanner.
this chat prints.
I would like to know. I'd be genuinely intrigued.
No, I mean, I still have my prints from college days, hand printed myself, and they look amazing.
Yeah.
And I still think the black and white printers are not as good as a proper hand-printed black and white print.
There you go. Well, I personally have used, when I've printed film prints, so in my instance, I haven't gone and printed a whole roll usually. I did at the beginning when I kind of got back into film and thought, oh, this is cool. And I'd always... And I had a few people who said I would like to buy this particular picture, or I'd have friends who wanted one of my shots framed. So then I would actually send off, I'd send the picture to a lab because I'd want it a little bit bigger. I wouldn't print it myself at home. I have done it, but I don't have a proper printer for that job.
Well, the thing about this home printing, generally printers are quite large. So getting A2 plus printer is very difficult for a lot of people. Especially in UK, because places are quite small. I know maybe in US you have a little bit more space, unless you're somewhere in New York or something. But generally, A3 plus is as much as you can go really with the printer. So if you want to print larger, generally something to put on the wall, you would go larger. Yeah. And therefore you do need to send your print to one of those labs.
Yeah, unless you've got a big office space, then you can have like an A2 or A1 printer.
Yeah.
Jeremy says, I do have my own permanent darkroom for black and white film and prints. Epson and HP for normal color prints and Whitewall for specials. So there you go. That's great. Thank you for sharing, Jeremy. Norm, who's from sunny Toronto in Canada, said, as a magazine editor for 50 years, I can tell you that many of the page layout programs of the past 20 years still work, best used with high-res images. So there you go. And Roy recommends Fuji Crystal Archive paper as a good choice for home printing.
I like all those kind of thick stock papers, like, with the, what's called the hanimule, hanimule?
Yeah, hanimule.
Yeah, those kind of textured papers.
Yes.
So I really love that.
Yes, those are very nice. I prefer sort of matte prints to glossy prints, but I think it depends on the image.
But yeah, always, obviously, if you print for the wall, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, especially if you're framing it.
Yeah.
How you're framing it, what paper you're going to use. Are you going to have a glass at the front, and which type of glass it is, if it's an archival print or not. And then obviously you can get into framing as well, and you can spend a lot more money on the frame itself.
A lot of money on the frame.
Than on the print. So I would say, if you're designing for the wall, you really have to account for all those things, because one frame may look okay on this print, but another frame may look even better. So it all has to match in a way.
Yes, and that's down to personal taste as well as everything else. So Thaddeus uses an Epson V600. I've actually heard that is a very good scanner for old negs. Is that the one? It's not the same as the one we have. We have something.
We have V600.
Oh, it's a 600.
It's the same thing, yeah.
And then a Canon Pro 10 printer. Now, I did a little bit of research just on sort of best home printers for A4, A3 size. And the names were Canon and Epson, obviously. Canon, very famous.
No, I was always saying that Canon is a famous printer manufacturer.
That's right. So if you want to print up to sort of A4 size, then there's an Epson EcoTank and there's a Canon Pixma that print A4. There is an Epson printer, it's P700, that lets you print panoramic, so you can actually put roll of paper through there, and just standard 13 by 19 inch size, so which is nice. There is also a Canon Image ProGraph Pro 300, which prints A3. The thing I think to take into consideration if you're going to home print, though, is that everything needs to be calibrated. So it's not it's not just like, whack in the printer, stick some paper in it and print. You have to calibrate your printer. The ink is so expensive.
That's the thing. And if you're people like me who don't like to pay for printed inks and buy those flow systems, where you inject refills and you re-chip the cartridge and then you get a needle and you squeeze the ink. So basically for this, you also then need to do a test. And whatever calibration you've done for the branded inks, obviously they're going to be different for those inks.
Yes.
So then there's what I would call it very similar to the darkroom experience, because you still have to do your test strips to see what the colors are going to look like before you're actually going to do the final big print.
That's right. So you do have to take that into consideration. I mean, maybe considering setting up a print shop as part of your you've done enough photography that you're saying, I've got quite a nice selection here, I'm going to open up a print shop. I know a lot of our subscribers, but also people that I follow on Instagram that I know catch up with the stream sometimes. They have their own print shops at home, they're at home print shops, and they send to sort of region specific areas. So if you're in the US, they do there. Yes, Roy, it's the Epson EcoPrint with ink tanks, and I think that's part of the problem, is that the inks are so expensive. So if you're only going to do occasional printing, then use a lab that specializes in it. The downside to using a lab is that if you don't like the colors or what they produce, then that's a bit annoying, really, because you've paid for that service.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's talk money here. Yeah, so you want to get a good printer with full set of inks, you're looking at roughly £1,000. I mean, you can go high, you can go slightly lower.
You can go lower. Sometimes the printers themselves are inexpensive to start off with. 600. Well,
but even the cartridge supply, they won't have the full cartridges.
That's right.
So they normally fill them with half of the ink and all that.
Yeah.
So if you look at that, then you're going to buy your own paper as well, and then you're going to test strips, and you may want to invest in color calibration. So for your screen, yada yada yada. You look at that, and you're looking at roughly £1,000 plus minus. Or let's say you just need to do 2 prints on 2 walls, and that's all you want to do, then just use the lab because it's easier.
It might cost you maybe £50-60. Might cost you more depending on where you're getting it printed.
But of course, if you print quite often or you print for your clients, I mean, I do a portrait session. I sell prints. So they will say, which size would you like? And if they order up to A3 plus size, I'll print them at home. If it's larger than that, I'll print it somewhere else. So, so if you consider that, if it's frequent printing, then definitely it's worth investing in your printer. If not, definitely lap is a better option.
Yes. Norm points out that paper stock is the key to spectacular photo books. It's the major reason why a limited run photo book will showcase your work in the most impressive manner. For sure, I wouldn't necessarily recommend for a photo book if you want a really high quality one. Actually, I do like the blurb photo books for decent quality, the Lightroom plugin.
Yeah, they've got more options now than they used to have.
Yeah. I have used cheaper ones for, like, for example, for holiday snaps, like Apple photo books. And there's HP, Hewlett-Packard have a company, what's called Snapfish.
Okay.
Which is cheap and cheerful,
Yeah.
You want a photo book for a family holiday and you want to gift it to, Aunt Agatha or whatever, then that's the way to go. But if you want a beautiful coffee table book, then do your research. A lot of people have been recommending some tremendous book printers, but also just generally the printers that they're using for their photography, which is very helpful. So thank you for your input there. Keith, thank you for your contribution to the coffee fund. Says, can't really watch today, but have some coffee or buy an ink cartridge if you prefer. Yes.
Or buy a roll of film.
Or buy a roll of film for that much, exactly. So thank you so much for that, really appreciated. John says, I've used white wall a number of times, but on occasions I sent them back for them to reprint them. That's good to know if you can do that, actually. I would imagine, so I have dealt with Silverprint, and they will reprint, or they used to reprint if you weren't happy with the results. I've used Metro Imaging.
Those are not cheap.
They're not cheap. And I think that for certain packages, they would give you up to, 1 or 2 reprints when you paid for a print. So most of the kind of well-reputed printers will do that.
I know David Yarrow, he prints at Genesis. And I have a client that I teach, and he also uses them. And he says normally you work with your guy, and he will tell you, if you send him the images, let's say he'll tell you, okay, you may need to adjust your shadow areas because of that print stock, etc., etc. And they would generally allow you to do like a small test strips. And of course, they will tell you what needs to be done. If you want them to do it, they'll charge you extra for it. But generally, they will let you know, because obviously they've been printed for so long, they have so much experience, what to improve on, etc., etc. But at a cost. Something cheaper, like let's say Print Space, they will tell you, here's our profile, so you can download them, you can proof it on your computer, see what it is, and you can send it to us. You can upload online. You don't even need to show up. But if you come to the shop, you can talk to people again, and they would generally give you a good idea. But if you don't want to talk to people, then maybe it's worth ordering a small print, looking at it, doing the adjustment, ordering another small print, and once you're happy with the small print, then you're going to order a big one.
Yes. That's great advice. Excellent. Well done. Thank you.
It just takes time, obviously, especially if it's a shipping involved, etc., etc., so, and you're going to spend a little bit more money, but then at least you're not going to order like 70, 80 pounds prints.
Yes.
That's going to come off and you're going to say, the colors are not what I've envisioned.
No, it makes total sense to do that.
Yeah. Actually, another tip is normally you can order a sample pack of different paper stocks.
Oh, yeah.
From the printer. So a lot of them do this. You can order them online. They will send it to you for a small fee, etc., etc. But they would just give you an idea. So you can open it and you can touch them. You can see how they look, let's say, under certain lighting conditions, etc., etc. And that will help, again, to make a decision which stock to print on.
Yeah, I've also done that for paintings, actually. When you want to get your paintings printed, you want a copy of them, and they'll send you like a little pack of this is the paper that we print on. So it's that's a very good point. Also, different pictures, I think, kind of come across differently depending on the paper. So when we went to Photo London, obviously there was all kinds of framing as well, but also all kinds of paper stocks, and some of them were glossy images and some of them were matte and some of them were somewhere in between. And it's interesting how much of a difference that makes to the kind of effect that you get from a picture.
The perception and what it gives away, absolutely.
Yeah. Roy suggests asking for acid-free paper. So that's a good tip there. And
Yeah, there's lots of things like archival things. Some of them will last 30 years, some of them will last 100 years plus, etc. So that's all involves different costs as well.
Yeah. Steve points out, unless your monitor is calibrated, the image you see on your monitor is not necessarily the image you'll get back from a printer, which is very true. I find that to be the case also when editing images for the magazine, because obviously Nikon Owner, for example, or any magazine, if you're printing for a magazine, you've got whatever, 5-10 different contributors. All of them have a different editing style, different everything. And sometimes you look at your image and you go, wow, it looks so different how it looked on my screen.
Well, absolutely. And then if you think about it, let's say Lightroom uses ProPhoto RGB, the color space, and then you export the image in Adobe RGB or sRGB, you're going to get a shift in colors because they're different color spaces, etc., etc. And then also, you know, if you think about it, like MacBooks, they have automatic brightness adjustments, which you need to turn off. They have auto tone, which means the screen becomes warmer in low light and becomes colder during the day, etc., etc. That's all affects the color balance of the image. So having a good calibrating device.
Whose blimmin' idea was that? No, I mean, I understand the purpose behind it.
Normally, people like, the printing houses, they would say like, are you on MacBook? Are you on the Apple device?
Yeah.
Because they will know that, okay, for this type of things, we need to actually think differently. You know? So that's the thing. Generally, for a lot of automated things, they're good for us unless you actually need consistency in those things. And for that, you actually need to turn everything off.
Yes,
you know?
Turn all the automatic stuff off.
Or get external monitor.
That's true. You can do that as well. Thaddeus says, Jose Rodriguez has a great YouTube channel about all things regarding printing. Thank you very much for that suggestion. That's very helpful. And Avner pointed out that we only have 77 likes. So please give us a like on this live stream. We would very much appreciate it. It helps the stream very much indeed.
Definitely.
If you're not a subscriber, then please do consider subscribing. It would help us. We are aiming for 20,000 subscriptions. Is that right? 20,000?
Yes,
Is that what we're going for?
Very positive thinking.
This year. We've got a few months, but it would be fantastic if you would consider subscribing. And then you will be entered into the competition if you are also a subscriber to our newsletter. The link for that is in the description box. So if you're both, then great. I know Ed told me that he's a subscriber for both, just to make sure that I definitely know.
Okay, so he's on the list.
He's on the list.
Okay.
I will actually verify it. You don't have to tell me if you subscribe to both.
If you like a beanie and you just don't want to wait for the ruffle or anything, then just go to our website and just order one.
Buy a beanie. Avner was still having problems ordering from our website, so may have adjusted the country settings. Please feel free to call us, Avner. Otherwise, I will check that out after the live stream at some point this afternoon and see if I can debug what's gone on there.
Yeah, you're good at coding. Yeah, you're going to go like...
It's not coding. It's like, look at the countries list. Try and understand why Israel has been taken off the countries list.
It's the beauty of WooCommerce.
Yes, that's right. Nice and simple. There was another thing I wanted to say about photo printing.
Yes.
It's gone out of my head now.
All right.
Because you were...
Look up your notes.
I'm going to just double check if I said it then. Did I write it down in my notes? No, I didn't. Of course I did. Why would I? There I was making notes. Yes, Keith says, please like the stream today. It's easy, it can be done in a fraction of a second. It does help. And Keith suggests for serious printing, buy the digital print by Jeff Schuwe. It covers everything. I think that, as I said, printing is like the final evolution. Not to, it's I'm going Pokemon references here now. It's like the final evolution of a photograph, but it is.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's fine.
It's like you start off with the starter and then it evolves.
And you feed it and it grows.
It's not how Pokemon works, but anyway. But you take the photo, you develop the photo or process the photo in some way or edit it, or you don't, as the case may be. Maybe you don't do much post-processing.
I'm thinking about Tilly, and she was a puppy, and then her next stage, what she's now, she's 1 year and a half, and she's in Sharknado mode.
Yeah.
And about 2 to 3 years old, when she's supposed to become a best dog in the world.
Right.
Like, so I'm waiting for that stage of evolution.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's the same with photography. I think having a print in your hands is a really nice thing to do. What I tend to do with like pictures of the family and stuff with my kids as they're growing up is every like 3 years, 2 to 3 years, I buy one of those big photo frames which has all the little holes in them. I print off, I get maybe 50 prints of my favorites from the last few years, and then I select the best of the best, and then so now I've got several in my hallway, and it's got like baby, and then like when they were each about 3 years old, and then when they were a bit bigger, and I think it's great to have that. That's the only thing that my husband's interested in putting on the walls. It's that or comic book posters. So no photography apart from pictures of the family. But
okay, so but what if I'm like all digital and I'm all like minimalist, like Marie Kondo, and I don't like the physical possessions of things. I don't print. I shoot digitally. It's all on my computer. You know, I listen only FLAC. Digital files, etc., etc. So what would you recommend me to do with my images so they're not going to become throwaway?
This stream is not for you.
Switch to another channel. Well, no, actually, I have an answer for it. I mean, if you look at portfolio websites, the portfolio page could be your book. Effectively, you can create a digital book, and then you can look at it on your iPad as well as a complete project. Again, the main difference, the main reason you would do that is basically, again, you go through the whole culling process. So you choose the best images from that particular shoot, and that covers that topic. You can still write text, etc., and present it in digital form, because we have those zines and in PDF form as well.
It's true. You make a PowerPoint presentation.
Exactly.
Imagine the good old days when your neighbours went on holiday and then they came back from holiday and they had hundreds of slides, and they'd be like, come round for my holiday.
That's for the projector one, and it's the automatic one that goes like, boop.
That's right. My grandfather had one of those. David.
We used to have one of those that you just slide in, then you put it in, then you move it out. But the second one, you take this one out, put the third.
That's very slow.
But still better than nothing.
It's true.
It wasn't like a projector or anything like this.
No. Sam said, can you link to the featured books? I will try. I mean, these are from our collection, so they're not stuff that we sell, but if I can find them on various corners of the internet, I'll shove them in a comment for you later, Sam. Fred said slideshows. Yes, exactly. Slideshows do the trick. You get those slideshow photo frames. People like those because then that's sort of minimalist, I suppose.
True.
It's more minimalist. If you are using a different name for your subscription on YouTube to it's the email address that matters. That's the only way I'm going to verify it. So if I contact you next week and I say, congratulations, you've won, I'm going to need to ask for your email address so that I can verify you're on a newsletter list. That's it. That's the totality of the complication of drawing the prize winner for next week.
Otherwise, you're going to end up with the 2 binions in your possession.
Yeah,
okay.
Which I'm okay with. So it's not the name. I'm going to pick from our YouTube subscribers, contact you, and if I cannot find your email address that you will have to give me privately, obviously, then I will obviously not be able to pick you as a winner. So just make sure you're subscribed to both. We'll figure it out. Okay. Yes. No Becky horror holiday story. Fine. For the last 3 minutes. Oh, and that's all the time we have.
Okay. So now we're answering David Lee's question.
Okay. It's not as terrible as, Benidorm or an episode of Benidorm or whatever it was.
Or This Is England.
No.
It wasn't This Is England. What was?
The Only Way Is Essex. What are those horrible things? So my friend had found us a place to stay, and she was allergic to cats, and they had 2 cats, but she was also terrified of dogs, and they had 5 dogs that
did you stay in the zoo?
Were all rampant in the house, and unfortunately the people that we were staying with didn't change the sheets and had said, oh yeah, no, we've got a place for you, but it was 1 room for 4 of us with 1 bed and lots of cats. It was just like, and then it also rained the entire time when it was supposed to be like 20 degrees. It was also like 2 hours from Barcelona instead of the
5 minutes
that was advertised.
So otherwise okay.
It was just one of those things. But I managed to take some great photos of the experience.
And you managed to make a book.
I made a book of it.
Good memories.
And one of my friends hasn't spoken to me since. No, just like, you organised that trip and I'm never speaking to you again.
We are not friends anymore.
But it wasn't me that booked the accommodation, so what can I say? That is literally all we have time for. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for your comments, for your Coffee Fund contributions, for your likes, for your subscribes.
if you're in UK, enjoy the long bank holiday weekend.
Yes, we are going to also enjoy it. We will be uploading a review video this weekend of the Voigtlander 35mm 1.2. So keep an eye out for that. And then we will have our Nikon report next week, followed by, business as usual. So have a wonderful weekend all. Thank you for everything. I hope you found my story entertaining. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.